is going on, Mile High City?
Woo! Baby! Yes! Yes! Cheers. In a game of butt cheeks, old middle school football team could scheme a better offense than Adam Gase.
Yes! Do you believe a whole life is good in the Mile High City today? Say it ain't so, I will not go. Turn the lights off. Carry me home to the Stanley Cup Final. The Colorado Avalanche are Western Conference champions, baby! Well, no, I don't make too many of these, but man, I had to for this one. Avs win the Western Conference Finals, and therefore they are Western Conference champions. And for the first time since 2001, the Colorado Avalanche are going to the Stanley Cup Final. A lot of people remember that Cup Final where they had the amazing 4-3 series win over the New Jersey Devils, and Ray Bourque had the iconic moment where he finally held up the cup after 22 years of waiting for a Stanley Cup. And while we don't quite have a Ray Bourque story on our team, there are quite a few feel-good stories on this team going into this Cup Final. And we have to talk about just how this team got here at this point. And of course, let's do a brief recap of how they got here via the Western Conference Final. Of course, coming into the series, all the talk was about McKinnon, McDavid. You know, you have Draisaitl, you had Cale Makar, guys like Evander Kane and Gabe Landeskog, Mikko Rantanen, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. You had all of this talk about the star-studded rosters between these two teams. And while the Stars certainly flexed their might, McKinnon flexed his might, McDavid did his thing, Makar did his thing. We didn't quite get a lot of it from Draisaitl, and I'll touch on him in a bit. But we certainly got a lot of star talent. But here's the thing. Playoffs don't just reward raw talent. Just pure, we got the fastest team on the ice or the most talented team on the ice. The playoffs often reward stuff like, like defensive structure, coaching, strategy. They reward things like how well you can coach your defense. They reward how good your goaltending is. Is it consistent? It doesn't just reward raw talent. That's what you get in the regular season, but it's the playoffs that reward the stuff that you're looking for. And honestly, looking at the way Edmonton's built, I can understand why some Oilers fans just want to blame Mike Smith and just say, if it wasn't for Smith, we'd have won. If it wasn't for Smith, we'd win the series. If it wasn't for Smith, we don't get swept. And I get that. He had an 862 save percentage through the entirety of the playoffs, through the entire series. You can't go 862 against the Colorado Avalanche and expect to win. But in fairness to Smith, their defense was asked to do something it wasn't really structured to do. I mean, Darnell Nurse, good lord, that dude could not catch a break. He was just, he had the stick in game 3. He was trying to get a stick out in front, and Valerian Nichushkin hit the knockoff on his stick past Mike Smith for an easy goal. He's had countless turnovers that have turned into goals for the Avalanche. He kept getting beat one-on-one by pretty much anybody the Avs skated out there. One example was, ironically, in Game 3, the game-winning goal. JT Compher comes flying out of the box, and Nurse, he can't keep up with him. He beats him, and then Compher just goes in and he knocks in the goal on Smith. And, you could say Mike Smith would have had it, but you got to be able to at least handle that guy one-on-one, especially if you're a top-pairing defenseman. Duncan Keith looks like he's honestly more like a Tyson Barrie kind of player, which is ironic because Tyson Barrie's on that team. Duncan Keith, he can score, but he really struggled playing good defense in front of his own net. And the Oilers, one thing they struggled with is when the Avalanche had pressure in their zone, they got a lot of good rebound shots on Mike Smith. Smith did make some saves, and yes, I know, Mike Smith did his usual things. There were some saves he really had to make in this series, and he is not without blame, but for Oilers fans to just flat out say that it was Mike Smith and Smith alone, that defense was not built for a deep playoff run. Even if they managed to get past Colorado, I would not have liked their chances against Tampa or New York, especially if you're going against a goaltender like Andre Vasilevsky or Igor Shesterkin. And I have to touch on Leon Draisaitl. He's like one of the few players I legitimately felt bad for on that team. Like, if you watched Game 4, he was in noticeable pain. That dude was wincing every time he touched the ice. He would literally just take a normal spill that every hockey player takes, and he would struggle for him to get up. He really looked like he was basically playing without legs out there on the ice. And the fact that he still had a pretty effective game passing the puck was pretty impressive, given that he was basically playing on one leg. I will say, though, what will haunt him forever, you'll remember this if you go back and watch the highlights, late in the third period, Oilers are up 4-3, they get that power play, and I thought that was it, personally. I thought, like, man, they're going to score on the power play, that'll be it, it'll be Game 5 in Colorado. And, of course, there's a rebound, a great pass from Connor McDavid, and Draisaitl has the net wide open on Francouz, and he misses badly. Like, he doesn't, like, it's not like he hit the post or anything. He hits the outside of the net, and it careens off the backboard. Like, the fact that the Oilers could have had that goal, and then if things just kept going the way they were going, they would have won 6-5 in regulation, had a chance to play again on Wednesday night. Man, that's going to haunt Draisaitl for a very long time, that open miss in the net. Avs got very lucky. Speaking of the Avalanche, let's go back to them, because that's who we're talking about, the Colorado Avalanche. Nathan MacKinnon, the man has seemed to finally elevated his game. It was clear he was a man on a mission. He's been on it since, He's been on it since July of last year. And he was determined, come hell or high water, he was going to get this team to the Cup final. And the way he's played this year, that man looks prime for a Conn Smythe if the Avs can win it. I cannot be happier of him. Cale Makar looks incredible. He had a rough series against the Blues. He rebounded fine. He had a 5-point night last night. He had a goal and 4 assists, including the assist on the game winner to Artturi Lehkonen, which, let's touch on Lehkonen and some of the other guys a little bit. It's easy to get caught up in just, the Avs are just so talented, they're so good, and they are. But it's beyond that. It's the fact that Joe Sakic seems to continue to improve as a GM year after year after year. Last year's trade deadline really didn't bring in much. You got a guy like Patrick Nemeth, who does more that like punching and picking fights than actually playing defense, and he was one of the main offenders as to why they lost against Vegas last year. Soderberg hardly did anything. He didn't even play in the playoffs. Devin Dubnyk, he was a short-term backup fix option. And you had him along a guy like Jonas Johansson, who I personally like Johansson as the better goaltender among the two of them. This year, it's different. He goes out, he gets Andrew Cogliano, who isn't exactly putting up the points, but he's an agitator on defense. He blocks a lot of shots. He makes gutsy defensive plays. He's fantastic at just stick-checking and poking the puck away. Like, you cannot ask for more. If you're Joe Sakic, you cannot ask for more from Andrew Cogliano in the role that he's been playing. You get Josh Manson, who's been great in these playoffs. He makes a couple mistakes here and there that do make you scratch your head, but he's a great physical player. He's good on the penalty kill. He gets the puck out of the zone. He does a good job for making some checks. He's made some pretty clutch goals, including that OT winner in Game 1 against St. Louis in Game 1 of the second-round series. You have a guy like Artturi Lehkonen has been such a blessing for the Avs from the deadline. The dude gets top-line minutes sometimes, and he absolutely deserves it. He plays like a good top-6 forward. I thought he was just a good bottom-6 guy. No, he plays like a top-6 forward, top line at times. He's great on defense. He doesn't turn it over. Smart passer. He's pretty aggressive as a player, and he hit the clutch OT winner on Mike Smith to send the Avs to the Cup final. Not to mention, he did the same thing last year with Montreal against Vegas. Pretty good to have that guy on your team. Let's talk about some of the guys on the back end that I have to give credit to. Devon Taves, he had that bad turnover that led to the Nugent-Hopkins goal that made it 2-1. He thankfully redeemed himself with that goal less than 30 seconds into the third period. He's been absolutely a gift for the Avalanche. Just the fact that we got him for 2 seconds is kind of insane. Holy crap, are we a blessed team to have Devon Taves. Sam Girard goes down, really sucks. Jack Johnson, he made a couple mistakes. He made the big one against St. Louis that led to that 2-on-1 goal. But he was pretty good in this series against the Edmonton Oilers. Not going to lie, he fits into his role well. He just makes sure he gets the puck out of the zone, doesn't turn it over. He's pretty good on the pairing with Eric John. He's pretty good on that pairing with Eric Johnson. I like him on that pairing. Speaking of which, talk about Eric Johnson. The dude has been an Av for as long as I can remember. I keep in mind, I was 6 months old when they hoisted the cup. So basically, I couldn't even form a thought or words yet. Eric Johnson was traded to the Avalanche in 2011. He came around the same time as Gabe Landeskog. So the fact that Eric Johnson's been around for this long, I've always known him as a member of the Colorado Avalanche. And he's been an Av for as long as I can remember. And you have just the fact that he has been so good for the Avalanche, and he suffered a lot of injuries the last couple of years, and I actually wanted him exposed in the Seattle expansion draft, or wanted them to offload him. I just thought, I like him as a player, but he gets injured too much, he doesn't bring much value. Holy crap, was I wrong, and I forever regret saying that. Eric Johnson has been a godsend for this team, and man, would we have been nice having him against Vegas last year. He's helped out the back end so much, and with Girard out, Johnson's kind of helped been that nice guy. He's aggressive with his shots. He's good on the back end. He makes smart passes. He's great on the penalty kill. Eric Johnson, he's been fantastic. He's been an Av for as long as I can remember. It's so good to have him still with this team, and I can't be happier with it. Goaltending was a bit of a topic here in Colorado. Of course, you're talking about Darcy Kemper and Pavel Francouz. Personally, I have confidence in both. I know Kemper's numbers haven't been fantastic, but I think the dude's been playing pretty good in these playoffs. And then they take out Darcy Kemper. He goes out with an injury. And then Pavel Francouz, man, he played so well in this series, getting the shutout in Game 2. Hard to believe that in a goal in a series, in a playoffs, featuring so many great goaltenders, the only one with a shutout is Pavel Francouz. That's funny to me. But then you add in the fact that he's played so well, and he's played at such a high level. He had a rough night last night, but the Avs survived it and won, and I still thought he made some pretty big saves, especially in Game 3. He made some pretty huge robberies with Connor McDavid. Honestly, I'm fine with either of them going into the Cup final. I thought that, losing Grubauer was going to hurt this team because I thought Grubauer was our best shot at a Cup final. Joe Sakic said, no, I can go get Darcy Kemper, and I can get it done this way. Another note, you have to feel really good for Gabriel Landeskog, man. He's been an Av basically his entire career, drafted first overall. He was drafted in the top first round, 2011. He was the third overall pick, and he has just been everything you want for the Avalanche. He scores, he dishes it out, he's been a physical fighter, he's been the captain, heart and soul of this franchise, has been Gabe Landeskog, and now he'll finally get his shot at a Stanley Cup, and just, seeing the way he's grown and the way the team's grown with him, along with guys like Mikko Rantanen and Nathan MacKinnon, cannot be happier for Gabriel Landeskog. That man deserves a chance to get his name etched on the Stanley Cup, and I think he'll get it done this year. Final two guys I want to talk about, Jared Bednar and Joe Sakic. When Sakic and Bednar were first together, Sakic was here before Bednar, but Sakic and Bednar were here together. First time in that 16-17 nightmare season. Remember that year? The year where they only put up 48 points and they only won 22 of 82 games. They lost 60 games, and we ended up losing the draft lottery, and we were kind of a punching bag. You were a joke, and they weren't even trying to tank. They were just terrible. Yeah, I remember that season vividly, and I remember thinking to myself, man, I'm first off, I didn't even know who Bednar was before we brought him in. So I'm like, well, at least he'll only be here 1 year. I thought for sure Joe Sakic was going to get fired because I'm like, he hasn't really drafted well. Mikko Rantanen, that was his first year in the NHL. What a rough year for Mikko Rantanen. He barely made a scratch in the NHL, and the dude put up 20 points. He put up 20 goals. My mistake. He put up 20 goals, and he was the only Avs player to do so that season. Goaltending wise, they were a mess. Eric Johnson got hurt, and everything kind of blew up in their face. Joe Colborne really couldn't do anything. He was their big free agent prize, and he did absolutely nothing. One of their best scorers that year was Rene Bourque. Remember that? You just look at the situation all around, and I mean, hey, they forced Calvin Pickard to start over 50 games for that team, and I felt bad for Calvin Pickard. He he was strapped to the goalpost, just like, all right, just please don't allow 6 goals a game, and we'll be okay. Of course, the embarrassment being the 10-1 blowout against Montreal. And, a lot of us lost hope. I don't know if other people thought this. I thought they were going to kind of blow it up. I thought they were just going to go full-on tanking. I'm like, well, now, who knows if Landeskog comes back. Duchesne wanted out. I didn't really have any faith that... I really didn't know Mikko Rantanen was, and I'm like, doesn't look too promising. I thought McKinnon would end up leaving. I really thought that the atmosphere was going to die. Thank God they did not panic. They stuck with it. In fact, they didn't really do much in that offseason. They waited just the right time to trade Matt Duchesne. They got the huge haul back, in which they ended up getting Bowen Byram and Sam Girard out of that trade. They got some pretty decent players out of that trade, too. We got some guys down in the minors from that trade who look really, really promising. Yeah, we lost the draft lottery, but we got Cale Makar out of that, so that was fun. We got Cale Makar because of that season. People forget the year before they had traded for JT Compher. A lot of the guys that are on this team, that were core members of that team, were part of that 16-17 nightmare. Bednar and Sakic included. Everyone thought it was going to be an all-time low. To see them rebound and grow, and Bednar is now the all-time franchise leader in wins. To see this team go from 48 points to now they are contending for a Stanley Cup. The fact that Sakic literally turned it around in 1 year and it kept getting better. I literally can't ask for more. I say if they win the Cup this year, build Sakic a statue. Build him a statue outside the stadium. The dude will have brought this franchise 3 Stanley Cups. 2 as a player and one as an executive. If they can win it this year. Jared Bednar has just been everything to the Avalanche. I've defended that man for so long. A lot of people wanted him. I remember people wanted him fired last year. You remember that? They had that rough start. People wanted him fired. People thought they should have fired him back in October when, they had that 4-5-1 start. Remember that? We had that rough 4-5-1 start. First couple weeks in November were a little iffy, and then they kind of hit their stride. People wanted Bednar fired. Man, it's so funny to me, 4-5-1, and people were freaking out, thinking that this team wasn't going to make the playoffs. Can you believe all that? And now they have a chance to play for the Stanley Cup. You know what? You really can't ask for more. I think Bednar's grown year after year after year. I've said it. There's nobody else I trust. I talked about it in my Bronco videos. I talked about how I really don't trust anybody else but Bednar with this team, and I think he's proving me right year after year after year. And there's not much more I can say. I'm just extremely happy we're going to the Stanley Cup Finals. And now we await New York and Tampa. I'll take either of them. Man, this has been such a fun season. I know I don't make too many Avalanche videos. I will definitely make more in the future. But man, it just feels good. It just feels good to know that I finally get to witness a Stanley Cup run. I've seen the 96 one. I've seen the 2001 run, but I've only saw those like in flashbacks and highlights. I wasn't alive for those. Well, I was alive for the 2001, but I wasn't even a year old at the time. Now I finally get to witness it myself. Anyways, that's it for me. Hope you all enjoyed this one. More videos out for you guys soon. 12 down, 4 to go. One more river to cross. Go Avs, go.